I hope you guys are doing well and are looking forward to block 2. I'm going to do a little wrap up of block 1. I try to do this as a quick review of what I found to be really important and a way to make sure that everybody kind of hones in on some of the things that we thought were valuable for these first 2 weeks. So let's go ahead and move on. So the key points I found that were really important in these last 2 weeks and the weeks of our readings: medical screening. All patients, regardless of method of access to PT, right? So we're not just making sure that if it's direct access, we're screening them to the highest level of our education, but we're screening everyone the same way, and we're doing it throughout the entire time they are under our care. Because things crop up, presentation changes, and understanding that change is really important. I think it's important that we, bring our colleagues along on this, and that a lot of people were talking about sharing articles, sharing information with their colleagues, sharing some of these things that they found to be helpful, and I would encourage you to do that. That's how you create a learning environment. That's how you create opportunity for growth. And that's how you represent yourself as a leader in the clinic. So that's always great to hear. Outcome measures. It seems like everybody is using an outcome measure. And I'll say I've been doing these courses for about 6 years now, and even 6 years ago, I'd get about half of the people were using these. Some people weren't even aware of them. It seems like everybody now is doing them and is pretty much dialed in, which is really great to see. Important to be able to, talk to patients about why these pieces of paper that they're filling out are, in a lot of cases, photo. A lot of you guys are using photo, but those of you who are using Quick Dash or Dash or Spady, why they're doing it, showing them change, showing them the value in that change, and then helping them fully participate in their recovery, and then even explaining to them the amount of change that you find valuable in the outcome tool to make it worthy, to be value added, as I say, to make what we do important to them. Test clusters. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Our special tests just aren't very special. Keep that in mind. Do not allow colleagues, do not allow surgeons to pinpoint some test like this is some Yahoo moment, because it really isn't. Our special tests, as a general rule, suck, and they don't tell us much of anything. And even I got into some not debate, but just some dialogue about, what do even our diagnoses mean? And we hold these terms in such high esteem, but ultimately, if we can't even define what that means and agree on definition and impingement, and we'll talk more about that in the coming weeks, what really that represents, then how do we know what we're even looking for, right? And what we do, then the treatment that we apply, how do we know that that's even valuable? So keeping that in the back of your mind, considering always your population, who are you dealing with when looking at these different test item clusters? Is there a reference standard? So many of these don't have a gold reference standard. They have, they compare it to garbage. I would use an example. There's lots of examples, but just keep that in mind. Utility of statistics. Be mindful of likelihood ratios, both the strengths and weaknesses, both a positive likelihood ratio, negative likelihood ratio. How strong do they need to be, right? Is a likelihood ratio of a 3 really worth your time versus something that has a 7 to 10, right? Sensitivity and specificity. How strong is that special test? How strong are a group of special tests? A strong positive versus a strong negative. All things to keep in mind. I really I was able to get to 3 groups. I wasn't able to get into Charlie as much, but I got into Alpha Bravo and Delta more, and I'll get into Charlie next block. But everybody had some really good discussions. Everybody seemed to have, unfortunately, some experiences that seemed to require them to be, to refer back for whatever reason. And so it really seems like clinical reasoning and clinical judgment are on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. Moving on to next week, don't forget, hopefully everybody caught this, but the case-based subject exam is due on Monday with the questions answered. Please go to Dropbox if you haven't already and answer those questions and get them into your groups, and then we will all start to engage. Post those in block 2. There's two discussion blocks. One's for your subjective and one's for your questions. Get into your block 2 readings and get those going. Residents, you need to get into virtual rounds. If you don't have access to those, please let me know. I think most people just got access. Go to see the announcement section of Moodle. Keep up the solid work in the discussions. If you have some spare time you want to check out, I'm going to be digging into the FITS case presentations and their work. Check out some of the FIT work and what that means and their responsibilities. It's always good to see what people have to do on a higher level, what is expected versus some of the other stuff we expect the FITs to be, really digging deep into the evaluation process, and that's what we're going to be looking at. And so kind of come and check out our interactions if you'd like, and just kind of peek behind the corner, if you will, and see what we're doing. Contact me with anything. Please. I talked to 2 people this weekend just about the group project. I think that could be handled a little bit differently as far as the information. I think it could be in block 1 so that you guys know it's coming, as opposed to looking at the course calendar. Please do that because it does tell you what's coming up. I think some people missed that. I think because this is new, we're kind of still working out the bugs. So I had to call a couple of people or talk to them on the phone. I talked to a couple of people over the last 2 weeks on the phone, just because it's easier, and sometimes discussion over the phone is better than email. But I've certainly talked to plenty of people via email. So everybody's reaching out when they need help, and that's great, because I just don't want you guys to be left in the dark. I want you to be getting the information as quickly as possible so that you can move forward and be successful and not get too frustrated. That's all, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.